what if the key to solving our global problems wasn't something out there, but something right in here? So today we're going to dive into Jungbub, a really fascinating spiritual framework from South Korea that puts forward a pretty radical idea, that the future of all of humanity actually rests on a whole new model of personal growth. This whole philosophy really kicks off with this one powerful question. What if the key to a better world isn't some huge political movement or some technological revolution, but a fundamental shift in how we, as individuals, learn and grow? That idea is right at the heart of everything we're about to explore.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this worldview, we first need to break down a few foundational concepts. Think of them as the essential pieces of the puzzle.
First up, what even is Jungbub? Well, it's not presented as a religion. Instead, it's described as the fundamental principles, or you could say the laws of grand nature. These teachings come from its central figure, Grandmaster Cheonggong, and they're really meant to be a guide for how to live rightly in the world.
And that leads us right into this concept of Huchin Side, which means the human-centered era. The philosophy suggests that a brand new age for humanity actually started back in 2013. It marks this historic shift away from all the conflict of the past and moves us toward a future where we, not just I, is the focus of all our conversations.
So, who's going to lead this new era? The philosophy points to a very specific group of people called Hongikingkan, and the term literally means those who came to benefit the earth. This refers to people born after 1952. The idea is that these individuals are on Earth right now because of significant good deeds in their past, which positions them to become humanity's next leaders. Okay, that's the big picture. But how does this all work in practice? I mean, how does a honking-in leader actually operate in the world? Well, the philosophy is built on this really fascinating core mechanic, the 70% rule. Yeah, this number, 70%, it's absolutely central to everything. Within the Jungbub framework, it represents the critical threshold for true understanding. That's the point where things just click and where effective action finally becomes possible. And the way the teachings explain this is, well, it's brilliant. They use the analogy of a water wheel. Think about it. A water wheel won't turn until it's about 70% full of water. Once it hits that mark, it has enough weight, enough mass to start moving. And in the very same way, our own understanding only gains enough mass to become truly actionable once we cross that 70% line. And this right here explains a super common trap, especially for people with quick intuition. The teachings warn that acting on an idea when you only have, say, 30% of the picture is like jumping the gun. It's just going to lead to mistakes most of the time. The advice isn't to not act, but to go back and forth, gathering more info, more mass, until your understanding really solidifies. So what's really interesting is how this 70% rule completely flips the script on how we think about learning, and even failure. It shifts our focus away from needing to be perfect and onto the value of just participating in the first place. Okay, to really get this, check out this real-world question someone actually asked Grandmaster Cheonggong. A student was translating his lectures into Spanish, and she felt her work was imperfect, that it just didn't have the power of the original. So she asked, "Is it even right for me to continue doing this?" And the answer that was given? Wow, it's pretty insightful. The teaching explains that actively participating, even imperfectly, like with her translation, is a way more powerful way to learn than just passively listening. Every attempt, every imperfect effort is actually a form of deep study. It actively builds that internal mass you need to reach the 70% threshold of real understanding. And there's this fantastic historical parallel they use to drive the point home, the story of early South Korean-made nylon stockings. Apparently, they were pretty poor quality at first, but society bought them and used them anyway. And that acceptance of an imperfect product is what allowed the industry to learn, to grow, and eventually to achieve excellence. So the point is, imperfect contributions aren't failures. They're essential steps that help both the individual and all of society get to a place of mastery. So if you're one of these honking-on, one of these future leaders, the teachings give you a very practical toolkit for navigating the world, especially when you're dealing with other people. It really boils down to two key skills. The first is about communicating outward, specifically how to engage with the older generation, the ones who hold experience and power. And the second is about mastering your own inner world, especially for those of you who have that quick 70% style intuition. When it comes to talking with elders, the advice is pretty specific. It's not about trying to teach them or lecture them. Instead, you're supposed to listen, really listen, to find their core question, their keyword. Once you've got it, you just offer a simple, direct solution for that one thing. That's how you build trust. And this is important because, as the philosophy points out, older generations hold the economic and political power, so understanding them is the key to unlocking their support. Now, for all you folks out there with that lightning-fast intuition, this next piece of advice is absolutely key. Know, but act as if you don't. This isn't about being fake or dishonest. It's a discipline. It's designed to help you avoid unnecessary conflict. Okay, so here's the play-by-play on how that actually works. Your intuition kicks in and instantly gives you that 70% read on a situation. The hard part, the discipline, is to resist that urge to just jump in and correct somebody or state your conclusion. Instead, you use that intuition as a signal to listen even more deeply for the 30% you don't know. By taking what the teachings call 3 steps back, you get to see the whole picture, and only then do you decide how to act or maybe not to act at all. All right, let's pull the camera back for a second. Why does all this personal stuff, managing your intuition, communicating better, learning through your mistakes, why does it matter so much in this big picture? See, according to Jungbob, these skills aren't just some self-help hacks for your own success. They are the essential tools that the Hungingen have to master to fulfill their destiny. Self-improvement isn't just a personal goal. It's framed as a global responsibility to help guide all of humanity into this new era of peace and cooperation. And all of this builds up to a pretty grand vision for what's coming next. The philosophy actually frames the recent COVID period as a time of learning and preparation. It predicts that in the next few years, a peaceful unification of Korea will happen, based on consensus. And from there, the vision is that a unified Korea will lead global humanitarian projects, kicking off an era where people no longer have to live just to earn money. And that really brings us full circle, right back to where we started. The whole philosophy seems to hinge on this idea of growing through active participation. So it kind of leaves us with this final thought to chew on. In our own lives, is our ultimate purpose to achieve some kind of flawless, perfect end result? Or is the real purpose found in the messy, imperfect, but deeply educational act of just participating fully in the process itself?